What's up? I'm Van, and today I want to go through the SAT Practice Test 1, Section 3. So let's get started. So for the first question here, we have this equation, and we have if k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? So all we have to do here is just replace k with 3 and then do the algebra. So to solve for x, what you could do is just call the right side 3 over 1, cross multiply, and you'll have x minus 1 is equal to 9. And then after adding 1 to both sides, that's going to give you x equals 10. So choice D. For question 2, we have to know a little bit about complex numbers. And just know when you add complex numbers together, you're going to add the real parts together. That's the 7 and the negative 8. And then you're going to add the imaginary parts together. So you're going to do 3i plus 9i. So we're adding all this stuff together. And now if we combine here, 7 plus negative 8 is negative 1. And then if we do the imaginary part, 3i plus 9i is 12i. So this is going to match with choice A. Question 3, we have Saturday afternoon. Armand sends M text messages each hour for 5 hours. So right away I'm thinking in total Armand sent 5 times M text messages, because if he sends M text messages each hour for 5 hours, we just multiply to get the total number. And then we have Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. So that would be 4 times P would be how many text messages Tyrone sent. So we want to know which of the following represents. We have the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone. So then we would just add these together if we want the total. So we have 5m plus 4p, and that's going to match up with choice C. So question 4, there's a lot going on here. We have Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. So each week she gets a batch of phones that need repairs, and the number of phones she has left to fix could be estimated by this. This is a linear equation. So P is the number of phones left. D is the number of days she's worked that week. We want to know what is the meaning of 108 in this equation. So if we write this on the side here, we have 108 minus 23D. Just know in the context of word problems, when you have a linear equation, mx plus b is the equation of just about, it's a way to represent the equation of any line. And this is the slope, but in the context of word problems, we look at this as the rate of change, or just the rate. And this is the initial value. So when I'm looking at this question here, 108 is the constant, and this is the initial value. So this is how many phones. So this is our initial value, and in the context of the word problem, it's the amount of phones that Kathy starts with at the beginning of the week. So that means she has 108 phones to fix at the beginning of the week. The 23 represents how many phones that she could repair each day. So that means she could repair phones at a rate of 23 phones per day. So this is choice B. So question 5, we just have to do this algebra. So we're going to subtract these polynomials. So we're going to distribute the negative to each term here. So what we have is we've got x squared y minus 3y squared plus 5xy squared. And now when I distribute the negative, I'm going to write the new terms under their corresponding like term. So notice I have minus x squared y. That's going to make a plus x squared y. And I'm going to write that under this x squared y because they're like terms for us to combine. So now we have minus 3xy squared. So that I'm going to write over here because minus 3xy squared is going to combine with this. And then we have minus 3y squared, which becomes plus 3y squared. So now we combine this stuff, and notice these are going to cancel out because they're matching opposites. Now you have x squared y plus x squared y. That's going to make 2x squared y. So we just add the coefficients in front. So just 1 plus 1 gives us 2x squared y. And now 5 minus 3 is 2, so we have 2xy squared. And now scanning the answer choices, this looks like choice C. So question 6, we have a linear equation here, and we're told a pediatrician uses this model to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age A in years. So a lot going on here, but based on this model, what is the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year? So this is a lot like that cell phone question from before. So what we're looking at here, we're looking for the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year. So we're looking for the rate, and the rate is the slope of the linear equation. So the rate here is equal to 3. So that tells us that we're going to go with choice A. So question 7 is all algebra skills, and basically we're taking this equation here and we want to solve for P in terms of M, R, and capital N. So what we want to do is we're solving for this variable here. We want to solve for P. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the stuff in front of P. So we want this stuff to cancel out and move to the other side. So we're going to multiply by 1 plus R over 1200 to the n power minus 1 over, and then we're going to write that numerator down here. So we've got r over 1200, and then we've got 1 plus r over 1200, all to the n power like this. And when we do that, what we're going to have is, we're basically just going to have p equals, and I'm just going to put a k here because I don't feel like rewriting this again, but we're going to have p equals, and notice m is going to get multiplied by this expression k here, because once again, multiplying by this expression here is going to cancel this out, and we're going to multiply the left side by that as well. And now we just have to scan the answer choices, and this is looking like choice B. We have p equals this entire fraction in purple, that's representing k, and it's being multiplied by m, so definitely choice B. So question 8 is more algebra. We have a over b equals 2, and we want to find the value of 4b over a. So what we could do for this is, right away, I want to call the right side 2 over 1, and there's a move in algebra that when you have one fraction equals another fraction, you could flip both sides, and the resulting statement is still true. So b over a has to equal a half. So then if I want to build 4b over a, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And when I multiply both sides by 4, that tells us 4b over a is going to equal 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So definitely choice C. Question 9, we have the option of just plugging in all the answer choices to see which one checks out. But honestly, I find it to be a little bit faster to just solve these things directly. So I'm going to write down the first equation, and what we want is, we want one of the variables to cancel out. So what I want to build here is, let's say I multiply this bottom equation by -2. What that's going to give us is -2 times 2y is -4y, and -2 times -x is positive 2x. And this is going to be equal to 38. So what we have here is matching opposites, and when I combine these equations together, this 4y minus 4y is going to cancel. 3x plus 2x is 5x. And then if we just work that out on the side, you could do this in your head, but this is going to be 15. So 5x equals 15, which means x is equal to 3. So right away, it's looking like choice B, but just to be safe, I'll plug back in 3 times 3 plus 4y equals -23. I could plug it into any of these equations. And then if I subtract 9 on both sides, because 3 times 3 is 9, we have 4y equals -32. So y is definitely -8, definitely choice B. Question 10 we could solve really fast if we use the fact that g of x is an even function. Now we have g of x equals ax squared plus 24, and a is constant, g of 4 equals 8. Now right away what I'm thinking is that when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 24. So this starts way up here. So for g of 4 to be equal to 8, that means this thing's going to open downward like this. And because it's an even function, g of 4 is equal to 8, that means g of -4 is also going to be equal to 8. So this is definitely choice A. Another way to do this, but it's a little bit more time consuming, would be to plug into the equation. I have g of 4 equals a times 4 squared plus 24, and this is equal to 8. And then what we do is we just solve for a. So we have this here, and subtracting 24 on both sides gives us 16a equals, we would have -16, and that means a is equal to -1. And if we plug back in, g of x equals -1x squared plus 24, and then g of -4 would be equal to -4 squared plus 24, and this would give us -16 plus 24, which is still equal to 8. So we could do it the long way, but just knowing stuff about even functions saves us a ton of time. Question 11, we have these equations for B and C that represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken, X weeks after July 1st. So we want to know what was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken. So just set these equal to each other. You're going to have 235 plus 0.25x equals 1.75 plus 0.40x. And now here, what I'll do is I'll just move this to the other side because this is the smaller x value. So I'm going to move this over so that we have all positive numbers here. And then I'll subtract 1.75 as well. So that way, once again, our equation left is all positive terms. So now these are going to cancel here. This is going to cancel here. And now we just do the long subtraction. 5 minus 5 is 0. We borrow here, turn this into a 13. This will make 6. And we'll have 0.60 is equal to, and now 0.40 minus 0.25, I'm just thinking here, 40 minus 25 is 15, but there's a decimal in front. So we have this, and then we have our x attached to our decimal. So now just divide like this. And notice this is the same thing as doing 60 divided by 15. So right away I see here x is equal to 4, but what we want to know is the price per pound of beef. So now we're going to plug this back into the equation, and that tells us here the price per pound of beef is equal to 2.35 plus 0.25 times x equals 4 is going to give us 1. So the price per pound of beef at the time when they were equal was $3.35, choice D. So question 12, we have to know about linear equations here. So what we have is a line passing through the origin that has a slope of 1/7. So it's a line that's going to look something like this. And right away I see that this is going to be the line y equals 1/7 times x, because what we have is y equals mx plus b. The slope is m and the y-intercept is b. But if we're passing through the origin 0, 0, that means the y-intercept is 0. So y equals 1/7 x is our equation. So which of the points lie on this line? Well, 0, 7 is not it because 0, 0 is on our line. And now we just start plugging in more points. If we plug in x equals 1, notice we get y equals 1/7 times 1. So this one is out. And if we do choice C, this isn't going to work either because 1/7 times 7 is equal to 1, not 7. And now choice D, this has got to be the one. It's the last one. But 1/7 times x equals 14 is going to give us 14/7, which is 2. So definitely choice D. So question 13, we have if x is greater than 3, we want to find which of the following is equivalent to this expression. Now they tell us x is greater than 3 because when x equals -2 or -3, this expression is undefined. Now my first instinct with this question is to multiply the top and bottom of this expression by x plus 2, x plus 3. And what that will accomplish is it's going to get these denominators to simplify a bit more. So when we distribute here, and I'll show all the work for this, what we're going to have on bottom is we're going to have x plus 2 times x plus 3 times 1/x plus 2 is going to give us x plus 2. Plus, we're going to have x plus 2, x plus 3 over x plus 3. And then on top, we're going to have x plus 2, and we'll make that neater, times x plus 3. And now notice here, x plus 2 over x plus 2 cancels, x plus 3 over x plus 3 cancels, and now we have x plus 2 times x plus 3 over, and we're left with x plus 3 plus x plus 2. And now this is going to give us, I'm going to distribute this because it looks like in the answer key here, what we have is we have an expanded form on top. So if I distribute this, I'm going to have x squared. I'm going to have 3x plus 2x, which is 5x. And then 2 times 3 is 6 at the end. Over, and now what we have is x plus x is 2x. 3 plus 2 is 5. So this is looking like choice B. Question 14 is a nice little bit of algebra here. So we're given 3x minus y equals 12. What is the value of this expression here? So what I would do with this is I'm going to rewrite 8 as 2 to the third power. And now this is all to the x power over 2 to the y power like this. Once again, 8 could be rewritten as 2 to the third power. So I'm going to rewrite that. And now this is going to turn into 2. When I have a power to a power, I multiply. So I have 2 to the 3x over 2 to the y. And now this is going to be equal to 2. Law of exponents, when I divide exponents with the same base, we subtract. So we have 2 to the 3x minus y, and there it is. We're just going to replace 3x minus y with 12. So this is 2 to the 12th power, choice A. Question 15, we have this equation, and we're told a plus b equals 8. What are the two possible values for c? So for this question here, we just have to start this by brute force. We're going to multiply. We have ax times bx is going to give us ab x squared. And then we multiply these two, we're going to have plus 7ax. And then after this, we have 2 times bx is plus 2bx. And then at the end, 2 times 7 is 14. So the only way this equation is going to check out is if the coefficient of x squared matches on the left and right, the coefficient of x matches, and the constant, well, the constant 14 does match. So now I'll do one more thing. I'm going to factor this equation here, and I'm going to take out, we have 7a plus 2b times x. So I just want to factor this here so the coefficient of x is very obvious. And now we get here. So now this allows us to set up a few more equations. Once again, the coefficient of x squared in both of these have to match, which means ab has to be equal to 15. And then the next thing that has to match is the coefficient of x. So c has to equal this coefficient of x over here, 7a plus 2b. So now we use the other given information. If a plus b is equal to 8, we could say something like this, that b is equal to 8 minus a. And now if we plug into this equation here, what we'll have is we'll have a times b is equal to 8 minus a equals 15. And now if we distribute, we'll have 8a minus a squared equals 15. And if you move everything to one side, you have 0 equals a squared minus 8a and then plus 15. So now we do the algebra. This is going to give us a minus 5. A minus 3 is equal to 0, which tells us a is equal to 5 or 3. So now we just plug into this and look at the cases. So we'll do that over here. If a is equal to 5, well, a times b equals 15. So a equals 5 means b is equal to 3. And if this is the case, solving for c, we just plug into this. That means c is equal to 7 times 5 is 35, plus 2 times b equals 3 is 6. So c would equal 41. So right away, I'm seeing all these answer choices are canceling out because this is the only one with 41. For the second case here, let's say we said a is equal to 3. We choose the second possibility here. Well, if a is equal to 3, then b would be equal to 5. And then c would be equal to 7 times a, or 7 times 3, which is 21, plus 2 times 5 is 10, so c would be equal to 31. So choice D is definitely our answer. So we're up to question 16, and now we're out of the multiple choice. We have if t is greater than 0, and this is our equation, what is the value of t? Well, just know this factors to t minus 2 times t plus 2. That's a difference of 2 squares, and that's going to give us 2 roots, t equals 2 and t equals negative 2, but t is greater than 0, so that means we're going to reject this one and say t equals 2 is our answer. Question 17, we have this diagram here, and this represents the distances on some campsite. And what we have is we have the lengths of AB, EB, BD, and CD, and we have to write this in very carefully because they were written in respective order. So AB is 1,800 feet, so we'll just go ahead and write this here, 1,800 feet. And then next we have EB is 1,400 feet, so we'll write that over here. And then after that we have BD is 700 feet. So that's going over here. And then last we have CD is 800 feet. So CD is 800 feet. And what we want to do is we have all this information. We have that the segments intersect, and AEB and CDB, these two angles have the same measure. What is the value of x? So for this question here, we're using similar triangles because since these angles are the same measure and we have vertical angles here, that means we have two triangles that have two pairs of congruent angles. So that means these triangles are similar, which means their sides are in proportion. So we want to know the value of x. So just know x corresponds to this side and the opposite triangle because they're in corresponding locations. So what we have to do here is we have to think about which other side could we use in our comparison. Well, I'm going to use the side between the double tick mark and the single tick mark. So we'll say 700 over 800 is equal to, and between, notice 700 is between the single and the double, so we're going to use 1400 over here because that's between the single and the double, and this is going to go over x, where once again x is in the same corresponding location as the 800 here. So now you could just look at this and see, well, how do I get from here to here? Notice there's a times 2 relationship. I could do the algebra, but to go from 700 to 1400, I'm doing times 2. So here I would just do times 2, and that means x is going to be equal to 800 times 2, which is 1600. So the value of x is 1600. That's our solution to question 17. Question 18, we're solving a system of equations, and we're solving for x. So that means we could eliminate the variable y. So what I'll do is I'll multiply the top equation by -2, and that's going to give us -2x minus 2y equals positive 18 when we multiply across. And then we're just going to rewrite the bottom equation, x plus 2y equals -25. And now if we add these equations together, notice these variables, the y variables, are going to cancel out. And -2x plus x is -x, and this is equal to 18 minus 25 is -7. So if -x equals -7, then x, if we multiply both sides by -1, is equal to +7. So this is going to be our value of x. Question 19, we could draw out a right triangle here. And what we have is, and I'm not drawing this to scale, that one angle measures x degrees. So we'll just write that over here. And sine of x degrees is equal to 4/5. Now this mnemonic really helps SOHCAHTOA, because what that tells us when we're talking about the sine ratio, the term on top represents the opposite side, and the term on bottom represents the hypotenuse. So opposite of angle x is going to be labeled 4, and the hypotenuse of this right triangle is going to be labeled 5. Now, you should show up to the SAT knowing your Pythagorean triples. This is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. Otherwise, we have to use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing side. Now, what we have next is, what is cosine of 90 minus x? Just know when they say 90 minus x within right triangles, they're referring to the other acute angle over here, because the sum of all the angles in this triangle is 180 degrees. So 90 minus x refers to this angle over here. This is the 90 minus x degree angle. So what we have here is cosine is the ratio of the side adjacent to the angle over the hypotenuse. So if we're targeting this angle here, cosine of 90 degrees minus x degrees, adjacent to that angle that I labeled over here is the side that's equal to 4 over the hypotenuse is equal to 5. And I could write it like this, 4/5, or I could say 0.8, decimal equivalent. And that's our solution to 19. Question 20, we're solving for x, and I'm just going to plug in for a into this equation here. So we have 2 times a is 5 radical 2 is equal to square root of 2x. So here on the left, now I have 10 radical 2 equals radical 2x. And to solve for x, I'm just going to square both sides. And on the left side, I have 10 times 10 is 100 times radical 2 times itself is equal to 2. And this is equal to radical 2x times radical 2x is 2x. And then from here, I could just divide both sides by 2. And that tells us, once 2 over 2 cancels, that x is equal to 100. And that's our solution to 20.